Meanwhile, a second family claiming to be friends with the entertainer was introduced to CNN late Thursday by an associate of Jackson's. As with 11-year-old Brettbarnes interviewed Wednesday by CNN, Joy Robson and her 2 children say they frequently stayed at Jackson's ranch and that 10-year-old Wade had slumber parties with Jackson, sleeping with him in the same bed.
Yeah, you know, there's been different times where it'll just be me and Michael. Then there'll be other times where he has other friends over too. This is what, like what Brett said, it's just a slumber party. We just have a lot of fun.
And, you know, I've slept in the same bed as Michael. It's just you watch cartoons, you fall asleep. You know, it's just a friendship. And I know he would never do anything to hurt my brother. He's the nicest guy you've ever met.
I've been there when these kids have been in Michael's room. I've been there with them. It's just party time. They watch videos, they eat junk food, they play video games. They play so hard, they fall asleep. They're exhausted, they fall asleep.
Now,
there's nothing more to it than that.
From your standpoint, does it seem unusual for a 34-year-old man to have kids sleeping over?
Not when you know Michael's background. Under normal circumstances, possibly yes. But Michael, everybody knows he didn't have a childhood.
While Jackson's tour...
I guess, let me ask this, and I'm trying to think how to phrase it, though. I can hear out in the country people saying, and you've been cleared of all the charges, we want to make that clear. People saying, look, here is a man who is surrounded by things that children love. Here is a man who spent an inordinate amount of time with these young boys.
That's right.
What is a 36-year-old man doing sleeping with a 12-year-old boy, or a series of them?
Right. Okay, when you say boys, it's not just boys, and I've never invited just boys to come in my room. Come on, that's ridiculous. And that's a ridiculous question. But since people want to hear it, you know, the answer, I'll be happy to answer it. I have never invited anyone into my bed, ever. Children love me, I love them. They follow me, they want to be with me. But anybody can come in my bed. A child can come in my bed if they want.
I can say, sorry, I've seen this. I've seen it a lot. I've seen kids. I've seen him with children in the last year. I've seen it enough to where I can see how that can happen. It's, you know, I understand.
Isn't part of being an adult, and you have a 2-year-old child, 2-year-old boy.
Yeah, let me just, sorry.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I've seen these children, they don't let him go to the bathroom without running in there with them. And they won't let him out of their sight. So when he jumps in the bed, I'm even out. You know, they jump in the bed with him.
But isn't part of being an adult and loving children, keeping children from ambiguous?
Sleep on the bed, sleep on the bed. We're like, no, no, no. No, you sleep on the bed. And then he finally said, okay, if you love me, you sleep on the bed. I was like, oh, man. And so I finally slept on the bed. But it was fun that night.
I slept on the floor. I wasn't sleeping bag?
No, he packed the whole vest of blankets on the floor.
What? But Michael, you know, you're a 44-year-old man now. What do you get out of this? What do you get out of this?
He's 4.
Yeah, I'm 4. I love, I feel, see, I think what they get from me, I get from them. I've said it many times, my greatest inspiration comes from kids. Every song I write, every dance I do, all the poetry I write, is all inspired from that level of innocence, that consciousness of purity. And children have that. I see God in the face of children. And, man, I just love being around that all the time. Are you guys still staying up late? Sometimes I call your house so late.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but you tell me to call late.
We did. That was
When
one time.
people hear that children from other families have come and they've stayed in your house, they've stayed in your bedroom.
Well, very few.
But, you know, some have. And they say, is that really appropriate for a man, a grown man, to be doing that? How do you respond to that?
I feel sorry for them because that's judging someone who wants to really help people. Why can't you share your bed? The most loving thing to do is to share your bed with someone. You know?
Really, you really think that?
Yeah, of course.
You're taking a position that you use every single night that you go into. You sleep, and you're sharing it with another.
You say you can have my bed if you want. Sleep in it. I'll sleep on the floor. You can, it's yours. Always give the best to the company, you know. Like to him, I said, because he was going to sleep on the floor. I said, no, you sleep in the bed, I'll sleep on the floor.
But haven't you got a spare room or a spare house here where he could have stayed?
Yeah, but no, yes, we have guest units, but whenever kids come here, they always want to stay with me. They never want to stay in the guest, and I have never invited them in my room. They always just want to stay. They say, can I stay with you tonight? I go, if it's okay with your parents, yes, you can.
Were your parents happy that you were here with Michael?
Yeah, my mom was all very, very, very happy. And I know they're happy because I was happy.
Did they come with you?
Yeah, most of the time, but I wasn't really with my parents. I was mainly with Michael.
But they were happy that you were here?
Yeah.
I felt very uneasy after this conversation. I knew I had to confront Jackson about what I thought was an obsession with children. It just couldn't be avoided. Early in the new year, Jackson agreed to what would be our final meeting, this time in Miami, Florida. There were unanswered questions, lots of them, areas of his life about which I felt he'd been less than honest. His face, his denials about plastic surgery, his relationship with Blanket's mother, and of course, I also wanted to return to the Neverland sleepovers. Confronting him wouldn't be easy.
My children and me know what rejection is. To be neglected, to be spit on, to be talked about, to be made an outsider. Only because of our status in life or what we were going through. And Michael did not have that. He said, come to him, not just Gavin, but Star and Davelin and me, and called us his family. And Gavin was the one that asked him, could I call you Daddy? And Michael said, of course. And so, through him, it sparked Star and Davelin calling him Daddy Michael. Very innocent and beautiful relationship, which everyone has spun it out of control. It's a wish come true. For example, to see my children interact with an ideal role, a father role model. He plays with them, he laughs with them, he lets them win.
He wrestles with them.
He makes jokes with them.
Go on the rides together.
He shows them.
Watch movies together.
He shows them the basic foundation of what life is, and that's a loving family. The stronger your foundation, the higher your building is.
My first impression was that he's a very loving, caring, humble man. He took us under his wing when nobody else would. He didn't turn us away like all the people were doing. And he gave my brother the extra little spark he needed in his mind, because my brother was to the point where he couldn't even move. He couldn't even talk. And he gave my little brother so much.
When you're talking about children, we met Gavin. Mm-hmm. And it was a great privilege to meet Gavin because he's had a lot of suffering in his life.
Yeah.
When Gavin was there, he talked about the fact that he shares your bedroom.
Yes.
Can you understand why people would worry about that?
Because they're ignorant.
But is it really appropriate for a 44-year-old man to share a bedroom with a child who is not related to him at all?
That's a beautiful thing.
That's not a worrying thing?
Why should it be worrying? Who's the criminal? Who's Jack the Ripper in the room? This is a guy trying to help heal a child. I'm sleeping in a sleeping bag on the floor. I gave him the bed because he has a brother named Star. So him and Star took the bed, and I'm on the floor in the sleeping bag.
Did you ever sleep in the bed with them?
No. But I have slept in the bed with many children. I sleep in the bed with all of them. When Macaulay Culkin were little,
Kieran Culkin would sleep on this side, Macaulay Culkin's on this side, his sister's in there. We're all just jamming the bed. And we wake up like dawn and go in a hot air balloon. You know, we have the footage. I have all that footage.
But is that right, Michael?
It's very right. It's very loving. That's what the world needs now. More love, more.
The world needs a man who's 44 sleeping in a bed with children.
No, you're making it all wrong.
Well, tell me, help me.
Because what's wrong with sharing a love? You don't sleep with your kids or some other kid who needs love, who didn't have a good childhood?
No, I don't. I would never dream of sleeping.
I would never dream. Because you've never been where I've been, mentally.
What do you think people would say if I said, well, I've invited some of my daughter's friends round, or my son's friends round, and they're going to sleep in the bed with me tonight?
That's fine.
What do you think their parents would say?
If they're wacky, they would say you can't. But if you're close family, like your family, you know them well, but
Michael, I wouldn't like my children to sleep in anybody else's bed.
Well, I wouldn't mind if I knew the person well, and if I'm very close to Barry Gibb, Paris and Prince can stay with him anytime. My children sleep with other people all the time.
And you're happy with that?
Fine with it. They're honest. They're sweet people. They're not Jack the Ripper.
I suppose the problem for many people is what happened in 1993, or what didn't happen.
What didn't happen.
Just cast your mind back. What was that like when you first heard the allegations that were being made against you?
It was shocking, and I'm not allowed to talk about this by way of law. So,
but how did you feel about what was being said? I'm not asking you to talk about what was said.
I was shocked because God knows in my heart how much I adore children.
But isn't that precisely the problem, that when you actually invite children into your bed, you never know what's going to happen?
But when you say bed, you're thinking sexual. They make that sexual. It's not sexual. But we're going to sleep. I tuck them in. I put a little music on, and to a little storytelling. I read a book. It's very sweet. Put the fireplace on. Give them hot milk. You know, we have little cookies. It's very charming. Very sweet.
Sure.
It's what the whole world should do.
The reason that's been given for why you didn't go to jail was because you reached a financial settlement with the family.
Yeah. I don't want to do a long, drawn-out thing on TV like OJ and all that stupid stuff. And it wouldn't look right. I just said, look, get this over with. I want to go on with my life. This is ridiculous. I've had enough. Go.
And you started as a youngster dancing with Michael Jackson?
Yeah, started dancing when I was like 2, and then won a dance competition when I was 5 that Michael was holding sort of all over the world during his tour. And it was like a dance-alike contest like him.
Right.
I won that, and then the prize was to meet him.
And then you moved into the ranch.
Easy, Dean. Easy.
No, he did not move into the ranch. No. Are you still friendly with Michael?
Yeah, we still talk every couple months, catch up.
You do, really?
Yeah.
Well, what's he like?
What's he like? He's a good guy.
He's a good guy?
Yeah.
Show me where he touched you. You never, nothing ever,
he touched you,
nothing ever like that? No nonsense, no shenanigans? But he's a weird guy, you have to admit, right?
You know what, at the end of the day, it's like, everybody's got something weird about him. Everybody's got something strange about him.
Yeah, but some people more than others.
Yeah, true. At the end of the day, all I'm here, it's like, you know, you may not like, or you may have weird thoughts about him.
At the end of the day.
Why don't you let me talk for a minute? No. But it's like, you know, as long as people don't forget, you know, how talented he is and what he's done for the music industry. Think whatever you want about him, but you can't deny his talent. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, but you can notice the 35 plastic surgeries and the weird assortment of boys in his bed, right?
There's that, I guess.
And so you got the big...
We have to cover it, so let's ask about it. What's the relationship that you had with Michael Jackson?
Had or have? I mean, it's kind of,
both.
you know, whatever.
Let's go with had to
listen,
have.
No, he's a good friend of mine, and he still is. I mean, everything that's going on, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation for everyone involved, and, you know...
How did you first get to meet him?
I first met him, he kind of called me randomly, like out of the blue. You're just kind of like, hi. It's Michael. I'm just like, hey. And the thing is,
this is after Home Alone?
This is after Home Alone. I actually had met him before I was doing Nutcracker at Lincoln Center. I was playing Fritz, and he came backstage one day, and I actually met him very briefly. And he kind of recognized me because it was after I'd done Uncle Buck, and so he kind of mentioned something. And then he calls me up kind of out of the blue, and it's kind of just this weird random thing. And he was like, why don't you come over to my house? And thing is, I didn't react to him the way most people did. Most people like, Michael Jackson. And, you know, I mean, he was a god to people. And to me, he was, you know, I knew he was a pop singer, but beyond that, you know, I wasn't one of the fans. I think that's one of the reasons why we connected, was the fact that, you know, believe me, I call him a jerk all the time. I call him a fathead and a this and a that, you know,
and your
he
brother
gets
knew
it.
him too?
Yeah, no, we all did. I mean, he was, you know, a family friend.
What
basically.
happened at the house? That's what all these things that people
you know,
are
that's
concerned
what's
about.
so weird, you know.
What did happen?
Nothing happened, you know. I mean, nothing really. I mean, we played video games, you know. We you know, played it as an amusement park. Well, the thing is with that whole thing is that, you know, they go, oh, you slept in the same bedroom as him. It's like, I don't think you understand. Michael Jackson's bedroom is 2 stories. And it has like 3 bathrooms and this and that. So when I slept in his bedroom, yeah, but you have to understand the whole scenario. And the thing is with Michael is that he's not very good at explaining himself, and he never really has been, because he's not a very social person. I mean, you're talking about someone who's been sheltered and sheltering himself also for the last like 30 years, or you know, and so he's not very good at communicating to people and not very good at conveying what he's actually trying to say to you. And so when he says something like that, you know, people, you know, he doesn't quite understand why people react the way that they do.
Why do you think he likes young people so
It's because it's the same reason why he liked me, was the fact that I didn't care who he was. That was the thing. I talked to him like he was a normal human being. And that's what, and kids do that to him, because he's not, I mean, he's Michael Jackson, the pop singer, but he's not the god of, you know, the king of pop or anything like that. He's just, you know, a guy who's actually very kid-like himself and wants to go out there and wants to play video games with you.
Did your parents encourage it?
They weren't against it. You know, it wasn't like they encouraged it or like pushing me upon it. It was just kind of like I wanted to hang out with him, and they were fine with it.
So what do you make of what he's going through now?
Like, you know, like I said, it's unfortunate, and you know, it's a circus right now.
You think it's a bad rap?
You know, I think so, yeah. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, listen, like, look what happened on the first time this happened to him. You know, if someone had done something like that to my kid, I would, you know, I wouldn't just settle for some money. You know, I'd make sure the guy was in jail, you know, and it just really goes to show, I mean, as soon as, you know, they got the money and they ran, I mean, that's really what happened the first time. And so, you know, I don't know, it's a little crazy, and I kind of have taken a step back from the whole thing, because it is a bit of a circus, and you know, if the same thing was happening to me, I wouldn't want to drag him into it, and vice versa. So I try my best to keep a distance from it, but like I said, he's still a friend of mine.
If they asked you to be a character witness, would you appear?
I guess so, but I'd probably not. I mean, like I said, it's crazy, and I don't really want to be a part of it, you know?
But you like him.
I like him, and he's a friend of mine. I'm not saying I wouldn't do something like that. It just hasn't been brought up to me, and I don't think he'd want me to either, just because, like I said, you know, if the same thing was happening to me, I wouldn't want him to be.
What reaction has happened to you from all of this?
What do you mean?
I mean, people. Do people inquire of you a lot about it?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, you know, people always have like their opinions, and they always, you know, it's funny. I mean, people always talk to me about him because, you know, I'm one of these people who will tell you anything about my life, really, to get me going, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, I freely and openly talk about him and stuff like that. But overall, you know, he's just a good friend of mine.
But you wish him well.
Yes, of course I do.
What got you into?
Why, when your mother asked you in 1993, the first trial, why did you do the same thing that Anthony did and so many other people have done? Why did you deny it? Because that felt like a great opportunity to say, well, yeah, some of the same things have happened to me.
I did not testify out of thinking I was doing something good or knowing that what he did was bad. I was afraid of being caught. It was on the news 24/7. I mean, it was just being broadcast, and there was so much attention on it from the world.
So by that time, you thought of what you were doing as a bad thing, or just as a thing that you all did, but you had to keep it a secret?
I didn't think of it as good or bad. It was that old sort of wiring of, if you're caught, your life will be over.